Okay, welcome to this morning's Fife Property Show. Good morning, Richard. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Aye, pretty good, thanks. The sun is
The
shining.
sun, the
That
sun
great
is
big
shining.
fall in
I
the
knew you were
sky
going to say that.
has decided to come out to play.
I know. I thought it was meant to rain today. So yeah, we've got a lovely day ahead.
I did have a
So
discussion about it earlier last night, and I said, "Look, are you coming out this morning?" It's like because we're a bit annoyed about the rain and everything like that. So, are you going to make an appearance today? Especially, you're going to make an appearance next week at Glastonbury Festival, and I
I
think
hope
we've
so.
come to an agreement. I think we've come
Yeah.
to an agreement. The sun is going to come out all this week, all next week, and all for Glastonbury Festival as well. What a fantastic time to start. Moving checklist. This is the time of
Yeah.
year that everybody ends up moving. A huge amount of supply come onto the market. The demand is still there, but it's going to take a wee bit longer to sell. But this is the moving checklist. This is everything you need to do before,
Yeah.
during, and after selling your home. Now, if you're moving home, if moving home is anything, it's a massive to-do list. For anybody out there that thinks, oh, I just pack up the night before, guilty.
No.
It's a massive to-do list. Jobs to do right now, others in the future, and plenty of opportunity to wonder what you've missed.
Yeah.
In short, it's a lot on, and it's the best way to avoid the overwhelm is to spread this out in the tasks across different points of your move. So we've broken it down today into 5 distinct manageable chunks that you can hear about today. So if you're going to be moving home, if you're thinking about selling, if you're packing up right now, if you're in a rental property and you're moving home, this is going to be applicable to you as well. The first one is preparing to go to market while your home is up for sale, when you have a move-in date, packing like a pro, that's a really good one, and moving day mastery. You think, again, we think it's all about, well, we'll just do the night before or the week before or whatever. But it's a big task, especially for people, Richard, that are have been in the house a lot longer. They've
Downsizing
been in
possibly.
me 20 years, and then you've got accumulation, all the stuff that's been put in the cupboards and in the attic and in the double garage
Yeah.
as well. That's my life. And then you have to go, oh my God, I've got to get rid of all this stuff because I'm going to take this and I'm going to downsize it to that. I'm not going to get all this in here. How is that
That's how
possible?
people leave it to the last minute, and that's when they start to panic.
So narrowing your focus on a few jobs at the time
Yeah.
makes selling your home so much easier and far less stressful. And a moving checklist has got you covered every step of the way. If you've not got time, please feel free to read the checklist, and there's a lot of good
Yeah.
information in there. But Richard and I have got a great insight into this because we see this day in, day out, especially in the lettings market, Richard, and
Yeah.
especially in the sales market for myself. So the both of us in a combination is going to give you a fun-packed, I would say, fun-packed
Yeah.
rendition or experience or wisdom or skill about how to move like a pro. Preparing to go in the market.
Yeah.
I'll cover this one
Okay.
because preparing to go in the market is probably one of the most important things. I see it day in, day out, every
Preparation
single
is key.
time. Yeah. Perfection presentation is priority number 1 when selling. And you can wow your viewers and get your home to fit for sale. Now, we've got a blog on here actually talks about that, and it's called Is Your Home Fit for Sale? And keep it shining and a simple workout through the time of the fact that your home's on the market. So it's a
Yeah.
simple weekly workout to keep your home tip-top condition while your house is up for sale. But you can also pave the way for smooth legal and financial process with the following steps. Richard, what are the following steps? Do you know them as well?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, firstly, obviously, double check what your moving budget is and what you're going to need to spend. I mean, think about maybe you've got early mortgage repayments and charges to cover. You've got your stamp duty. You've got your selling fees to your agent. You've got then you need to speak to probably an independent advisor about your borrowing options and those costs involved in that. You might have setup fees for your new mortgage and things. There's lots of things. Think about
Yeah.
the bigger picture and what the overall cost is going to be. It's so important to get ahead of that. because you don't want caught out at the last minute with additional fees and costs that you weren't thinking about. And if you've got a good agent, they'll help you for the get-go with what that is, but you need to be on the ball yourself as well. You could
as well
also,
for people that are second homes and holiday homes, because they are selling up now because of the
Stamp
legislation,
duty, yeah.
and that's whether that's a political thing, whether you think it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
However, when they are selling up, they've got capital gains as well to think about. So they need to think about that, because potentially their mortgage is maybe a lot higher than the actual price of the property, or to pay it off, because they've maybe borrowed a bit more. And therefore, in order to sell, pay the capital gains bill, and actually pay the mortgage back, they're going to be left with a net cash deficit.
Which is not what you
So
want.
that's one to check out for. What's the next one we need to think about?
Yeah, this is actually a really common one, and really to slash months of time that it takes when you appoint a solicitor ahead of time. As soon as you are going to put your property in the market, you should have a solicitor in place or be speaking to one. One that's willing to create a draft contract to have everything put together before you even find a buyer. They should be ready to go. You won't regret listing one in time and a solicitor and having them in place from the get-go. And we see it time and time again.
I think it's most of the process is actually getting ahead with the solicitors. And the one thing I identified when I first started in a estate agency, maybe 20 years ago now, was actually to give them a heads up before you even actually get your house on the market. So in other words, tell your solicitor way beforehand or tell your solicitor you've just put your house on the market. Now, we do that as a natural recourse anyway. As soon as it goes into the system to be listed, we automatically tag it against your solicitor. It automatically sends them an email and tells them you're about to go in the market with us. And therefore, they then know to get things like the titles ordered up, to do that inspection, just in case your house is a bit older. Maybe it's been here for a couple of hundred years, maybe it's been here 100 years, and possibly the titles might be a bit different, and changes over that time might be a bit different than when we're now, especially if you've lived in it for maybe, I've had people live in houses for 50 years, and they've had generations as well. Maybe, I think one recently, I went round to see them, and I'm sure it was something like between them and their family and the generations after that, I'm sure they had the house for about 90 years.
Right, okay.
From the very beginning. And it's the emotional tie, it's difficult for them to let it go. But I said, you're going to need to speak to the solicitor, because potentially the land registry might not even, it won't even have your titles registered at the land registry in Edinburgh. Therefore, it won't be online. Therefore, somebody's going to have to dig all these titles out. If you think your solicitor's got your titles, think again. Because your titles, they handed them all back years and years ago and got rid of them, because their titles, they have to keep them in storage, and that costs them money. So therefore, why would they hold on to your titles if they're not getting anything out of it? That's why they need to hand them back to you. And I had loads of them handed back to me, all the old titles from properties that I've bought and buy to let. And therefore, they need to have it digitized online. So if you had your house for a long time, you've lived in it, your titles are probably not online. A quick, easy check is actually for Scotland to go in the Scottish registered of titles registered of over the land registry over in Edinburgh. And can I just click on it and tell you? Yeah, it's actually ros.gov. I'm going to put it in here, actually, for people that want to know. I'll put it in the comments. Here we go.
I'll let you do that, Jim, and then just recap. So you're absolutely right about solicitors. Oh, yeah, that was quick. You're absolutely right about information and things, and the documents that you need to have and sign, and like you say, digging out the deeds and warranties and receipts and even permissions or certificates for things that you've done to the property over the years. If you've been there a long time, do you have them? Because you will need them at the point of sale. So they're all things to think about.
Absolutely, Richard. Absolutely. You know why I'm doing that, don't you?
Yeah.
Because somebody apparently promised us $100 if I did that on here. And you better give us it, Tucker, because it's going to charity.
Yeah, that's coming straight on YouTube channel. So.
Apart from that, okay, slash months of your time. You'd actually said that. What other things have we got to think about then?
Yeah, so we're just saying, obviously, I was just recapping on what you were cover in there, and it's about all
Yeah.
the deeds and the warranties and receipts and permissions and certificates for any improvements. And do you know all these kinds of forms, things that you need to sign with your solicitors, things that you need to produce that are associated with your home or any improvements and things that you've done over the years. Make sure you've got all that in place, because when it gets to the point of trying to do the sale, and then you have to try and dig all this out and sign in forms and back and forward to solicitors, or digital signatures, it's a lot. It could be, and it could set things back.
Especially, I find, especially if you've done any alterations over these years.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to forget the fact that you maybe took a bit off your bedroom in order to make an ensuite shower, or an ensuite toilet for somebody that's maybe elderly.
A lot of people do this as well and don't get the proper permissions and things as well.
Yeah. I typically say, just tell them it was like that when you bought it. Don't tell anybody.
You could do that, yeah.
Tell them it was like that when you bought it. They'll never know. Unless you've just recently installed it and it's pretty obvious. Then you have to get permission. You have to get a building one. You don't need planning, because planning's for exterior, but interior you have to get a building one, or a building control permission to do that, to make that change. And so there's no question that filling in the paperwork and everything like that is a bit of a chore, but it is an essential task of selling, and more than that, finishing it early gives you time to find everything you need without the hold-ups, because a lot of these documents you'll probably actually not have still. And I tell you what, if it's anything like me, Elaine tidies up at the back of me all the time. Don't tell her. Shh. Elaine tidies up at the end, and I'm like, wait a minute, where is it? Because listen, it's organised in my mind. I know exactly where everything is in the room. So when it gets tidied up, it's like, I've lost it now.
Yeah. And see what you're saying there, Jim, about doing things ahead of time and having it all in place. It's like when people do their tax return. Don't leave it to the day before. Don't leave it to the last minute. I know we're all guilty. I do it myself sometimes with stuff. And then you think, God, I should. Well, I know, but you've learned over the years. And I do it sometimes, and I'm like, God, I should have done that last week and not like 2 days before or whatever. So I know we're all guilty, but get yourself out of that habit and be on the ball, especially with your house sale. It's the same, like I say, with people doing tax returns and things. We see it time and time again. Jim, what about while your house is actually then on the market and up for sale?
Some of the things you've got to think about, that, I mean, you might feel there's not much to do between putting your home on the market and agreeing a sale, but there is some valuable housekeeping and preliminary groundwork to think about. And one of the first ones I would say was be keeping an eye out for anything that you've missed in your initial declutter. I mean, are the backs of your cupboards hiding any items you can dispose of now to reduce your workload later on? A lot of people don't think about that, do we? No, we just don't think about that. What happens if a buyer comes along and makes you an offer you can't refuse and asks you if you can get it in 2 months? It's like, oh my God, I've got 20 years of clutter, and I've got to declutter everything in 2 months. It's an impossible task sometimes for some people, and it's overwhelming and it's stressful. And I tell you what, the opportunity to try and get that extra money could take a toll on your health.
Yeah,
that's one of the things you've got to really think about.
Some people might think, 2 months, I could do that. That's 8 weeks. It's not a long time.
It's not a long time,
especially when you're trying to empty a house.
Yeah, definitely. So I think just start decluttering right now and start getting rid of all the stuff you don't need. And this is where it becomes extremely difficult. We have done decluttering before, but let me just give you a wee crash course in decluttering your house. Have 3 massive piles, labels. One of the labels is I'm keeping it. One of the labels is I'm getting rid of it. And the other label is I'm not really sure. Okay, now not really sure is going to probably be a bigger pile than the rest of them. But when you take one thing and put the keep, don't keep, not sure. Okay, once you get the keep and the don't keep, you chuck away the don't keep, you keep the keep, you take the not sure, and you start again with the same 3 buckets. And then you say, am I keeping this? Am I getting rid of it? And eventually you'll come down to a realization that you're going to have to make some tough choices with the stuff that you've got. I'll be honest, when you pop your clogs, it's going to go in the bin anyway.
Yeah.
It's very rare that anybody's going to keep it. So you might want to keep it for sentimental value. I could understand that completely, but to be completely clinical about the whole process, it's like nobody else is probably going to want it. And a good test of that is actually when you're decluttering, is just say to you, the people around about you, if you've got children as well, is this something you'll want later on? Absolutely not. Okay, maybe it's time to get rid of it. Maybe it's time to just actually sell it. Maybe it's time to take it to a car boot sale, put it in the car boot sale. Any money you raise, give it to a local charity, give it to your local
Yeah.
food bank. I mean, if you don't need it, someone else certainly needs it. I can think of a lot of people that need it. So
Yeah.
if
I know.
just take that opportunity and give it to exactly what I said with Tucker the other now. If you give us that money, we'll just give it to charity.
Cool, Charlie. I think as well, unless something's got really a real sentimental value to you and you're holding on to it, do you really need it? Is it really necessary? Do you ever look at it? No. If no's the answer, then it needs to either be thrown out or, like you say, donated or given to charity.
Do a lot of preparation beforehand as well.
Yeah.
Even before your home's up for sale. This is the one that comes in my mind all the time. A lot of the times you go along to the houses, and especially you with landlords' houses as well, Richard, and some of the windows are actually blown, the double
Yeah.
glazing, the units, so they don't look as desirable as they are, and you'll never get rid of that. It doesn't cost much to get that changed, maybe 150 quid or something like that to get a pane changed in a
Yeah.
window, and it can make all the difference in people's minds when they walk in the door. It's the old thing about I always say it's like when you used to look at a car, is if there's one fault, you'll not see two other faults that are there as well. It's that kind of rule of thumb.
Yeah.
So when you walk to a house and you see something that's needing that attention, and it's only 150 quid, it's like that could put somebody off buying your house, or renting your property, and it's like,
Oh, it could
what
definitely be
really?
off-putting. Yeah.
Yeah. So it takes a long time to get some of these contractors because they've got to go and manufacture the pane anyway. They've got to come and measure it up. They've got to manufacture it. Then they've got to come and fit it. That takes about 2, maybe 3 months. So maybe actually call the people beforehand to get all your windows sorted, all the panes. Now, as I said, it's not that much to do. And if you're selling a property, it's maybe 100,000 upwards, and it might make a difference in somebody's mind, £1,000 in their mind.
Yeah.
150 quid, really? It's
Yeah.
like it's worth it. So I think that's a really important thing to do in preparation beforehand. But the one I was going to say when your house is going up for sale is call removal firms now, because
Yeah.
they're in high demand all the time, and there's very few of them, and they've got a
Schedule's
waiting
actually
list.
quite busy.
Yeah, they've got a waiting list as long as you're on for people wanting them, and they're like, well, we could move you in 6 months. Sorry, what? 6 months?
I'm moving in
Really?
2.
Yeah, I'm moving in 2.
And
I
I want.
left last minute. Hard lines, you're doing it yourself. And I don't know about you, but I'm not as robust as I used to be. I'm not for lifting couches and stuff like that,
No.
and housing things over, onto a lorry, and all that, all the logistics and everything involved in it, and the moving on the same day and trying to organise everything at the same time, and it's extremely stressful. So if you want a stressful time, leave everything to the last minute. If you don't want a stressful time, listen to what we're saying, implement it like a regimental army. So it's a military exercise to get this done, and you can approach it that way. That we laugh about it and we joke about it, but really, if you approach it that clinical way and a systematic way, this is going to be a breeze for you. And the next
Yeah.
time somebody says, "Oh, I'm thinking about moving house," you go, "It's easy, easy."
Aye.
I'll,
Do you know
I'll
what?
tell
I'm
you.
laughing as well because we're talking on Monday about stop overthinking and take action. And that it's these types of things, and you could think about, oh, and I'll need the removals, and I'll need to do this. You could think about all you like, but if you didn't actually take action or put things in place, and also with removals, if you've got a lot of possessions and you're moving a lot of things, what's the cost involved? Do you know you didn't want stung with a big bill for moving all these things that you didn't really take into consideration?
I know,
Um,
but then you just end up taking your rubbish to another house, because
mhm.
effectively that's all it is. Eventually, at the end of the day, it's going to be someone else's possessions. So,
Yeah,
so do you really need to take everything that you never ever used in your existing house and had in storage to your next house and actually have it cost you money? We all do it. I'm
yeah,
world's worst. It's like I've still got first 20 editions of comic books and stuff like that, and all the rest of it in storage. Loads and loads of different types of first singles and first edition books and stuff like that. But am I ever gonna do anything with it? Just flog it.
mhm.
This time
What
next
can
year
I
we'll be
say?
millionaires. I think that's already happened. So what am I waiting on then? I'm probably giving myself a lesson at the same time, to be honest. So
Another thing,
probably the final. The final one. Sorry, Richard, go on.
You're fine. You're going to cover it, and I think I was going to say. So the other thing is when, to maintain that moving momentum. When we do the listing, and you'll see it quite a lot, and people will come to do viewings, and it doesn't look like it did in the listing because people are obviously living in it. They've obviously got it all ready for the photos, but you really need to keep your home looking as close to what the listing and the photos and things look like when it was done, so that the viewers actually get what they booked to see. So they're seeing this online, they're seeing the pictures, they're seeing the video, and they walk into something completely chaos and a mess.
Yeah.
And it's that could be really off-putting as well. And that's obviously, again, listening to what we've said in the past about obviously presentation and things as well. And we've done previous shows on that, about obviously your presentation and keeping your property looking the way it is when it was listed as well.
Well, it's a major factor in the successful move, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the relationship you have with your estate agent. And you can find that treasure trove of tips and top tips and everything on this blog itself. So you click on the actual blog and you go down the list, and under while your home's for sale, you'll see the link to our show, and it's the treasure trove on tips on working together as a top-notch team with your existing estate agent. So what happens when you have your moving date, Richard? What would how do we agree a moving date? Is this something I think we should cover this. How is a moving date agreed between your seller and buyer? Okay, so you think it's so simple, but there's things to take into account when you're agreeing your moving date, and it's the ergonomics. It's the fact that who can you get to do certain jobs at certain times. It's also down to, as well as, have you got your next property to go to? Have you got your finance for your next property set up to coincide with your next purchase? Is your move going to coincide with your purchase? And is the person buying your house going to coincide with your move, and their mortgage and their house sale has to coincide with that as well if you're in a chain? See how complicated that can be?
Yeah, and there's a knock-on effect on that.
Everybody thinks this is money for old rope, being an estate agent. But I don't think a lot of people realise the skill and expertise that some estate agents, well, we do, because we do it, have to do in order to tee everything up to line up with that as well, in conjunction with the solicitor. And some solicitors are really, really good at this. Some solicitors need to work on it, I think, I would say, because just throw caution to the wind and see what happens. It's like that's the best way to do it. So I think definitely that's the type of things we've got to think about in between that process of getting that, so it's all like that. If you've got a cash buyer, then just make sure their mortgage is in place and when they're ready to conclude, and then so you can then move on to your house once they buy your next house, once they buy your house. But you have to make sure that even that cash buyer is teed up. We had a cash buyer, and I tell you what, 9 months and we're still waiting. It's like, wait a minute, you're a cash buyer. What's going on here? Oh, but I was cash out my pension. And it's like the pension company and the bank financing it through his pension, because it's probably a SAS, I think. He's got a SAS or a SIP. It's like they're putting spanners in the works going, but we're wanting this EPC sorted out, we're wanting this sorted out, we're wanting that sorted out, and then who's getting access and how they're getting access. The contractor then cancels and says, I'll reschedule it. And we're like, when are you rescheduling it then? Come on, let's go. And I just think I got the impression it was a whole delay tactic. But who was stuck in the middle? Us. The devil in the deep blue sea. But both parties. It's like, come on, let's go. This is what you need to do. So eventually we pushed it over the line, and hopefully in the next week it'll conclude, and that's done. But I tell you what, I was at the point of saying, I'll just buy it for cash, and I've got it in the bank. Because it's a good purchase, and how it would take that long, I do not know. But these are the sort of things you've got to think about to make sure that it works and goes in unison with the next property you're actually moving to or downsizing to, or maybe just selling completely, moving and renting accommodation. So when you have your move-in date, what you've got to think about, Richard, when you have your move-in date.
Yeah, because like you say, Jim, obviously when you agree a sale, you don't agree that move-in date at that point. That comes a wee bit later down the line, and there's a lot of factors that will come into why you've picked, why that date is coming and being agreed. And then it's a lot to do with who's buying yours and where you're buying, and that whole chain. And if you've got a good agent in place, they will orchestrate that, not just from your behalf, but obviously look at your buyers and look at where you're going as well.
Yeah.
Is that a
That's a
question
good
there,
question.
Andrea?
Andrea says, do you have to wait till confirmation is completed on a deceased estate before going to market? Yes. Ideally, you do, but your solicitor is the person that can give you advice on that, and they will give you the go-ahead. Every solicitor, we always hear it all the time, we go around for the initial probate valuation. So probate valuation, which is an initial valuation to give to the estate. The estate then takes that to the court. And then the court then grants the permission to transfer the assets or whatever it is they're doing, and finalise everything based on that. And then it's a case that the solicitor generally says, right, you're okay to put it on the market now, and we're ready to go. Ideally, you shouldn't be putting it on the market until your solicitor says you're okay to put it on the market. However, again, take advice from your estate agent, because some solicitors have a different opinion from the others in that scenario. So sometimes you can be told something which maybe isn't exactly right. Yeah, I've had that before where that's happened, and when they've been okay to go with it. And it's worked successfully, and it's happened as a result of that. It was mainly down to the solicitor being off ill most of the time, and that's what was delaying everything. So we managed to get another solicitor to take over that case and therefore push it through for our client, and job done. It's like, wait a minute, what's that got to do with selling the house? But
No, you
that's
see
the
that
type of things you have to
sometimes.
do. That's the types of
Do you
things
know if
that's the type of things you have to do as an estate agent.
Yeah, and you do see that sometimes if a solicitor's dealing with something, if they end up going on holiday or they're off, sometimes there's no one to step
It
into their
just gets
place,
left sometimes.
and you have
Yeah.
to wait on them coming back. Yeah, but yeah, let's run through a few things. Obviously, you've got that moving date. Firstly, obviously, you've got your removals in place. Get the van booked. Order your boxes. Start taping up and packing all your materials, and do that a couple of weeks before your actual moving date. Don't do it the day before, as we've said. And then that way you could pack up and start moving and do that kind of panic free, no stress. Because the last thing you want on the day or the day before you're moving is running about like a headless chicken. And it's like it's not a good
I
start
would
to
have
a
said
move.
I would have said a blue arse flea.
Well,
That's a phrase I always remember. Run about like a blue arsed flea.
I heard a funny thing about using the phrase "a headless chicken" the other day, and it's they're actually telling you not to use it anymore because it could be offensive to people that don't use
Oh,
meat.
wait.
But, I know it's a wee bit far, but I did hear that the other day.
Yeah.
Also, think about when you're moving and you're getting close, you've got that move-in date. Think about notifying people like your bank, your utilities. You think about your doctor's surgery, your memberships you've got, the schools. Change of address. Think about your vets. A lot of people have pets. Think about your insurers, council tax, DVLA, TV licensing. There's loads of stuff for changing your address, and most of it could all be done online now. But
There's
do
some
that.
organisations that do it for you. Like, for example, I'm sure there's a requirement by the banks, if you've got standing orders on all your accounts, to then notify all these people with standing orders that you've actually changed your address. I'm sure
That's
there's
quite a
something
good
like
one.
that. There's some
And
mechanism.
I bet you could set all that up through your banking app as well, because the
Yeah,
banking
but
app is
we
really good now.
actually that's how we did most of this thing, because I always make sure everything goes through apps. I don't like the cash thing because it's easily traceable for me to understand where everything's going and how everything's spent. So therefore, it's easy for me to go to my bank statement and go, right, okay, who are all the person I need to notify from my bank statement that my address, my new address has changed. Now, most things will just get sent to you online anyway now. But just in case they do send stuff that they've got to send in the post, then at least you know where it's done right, because you know it's come through your bank statement and you know the ones that you're ticking off. Whereas the other ones, it's like you probably just have to put a redirection in place in order to make sure it's permanently redirected. Maybe for about 6. I would go as far as, depending if you get a lot of important mail, like what we sometimes do for our buy-to-let portfolios, because it comes to our address. I would be setting up for a year for me for a redirection, just in case, to make sure. I think that's probably important. So it depends on what you should be doing, how you should be doing it. I mean, Angela says there are apps that are easy to change address to, but you know what? Sometimes I just don't have confidence in some of these things. You've got to check out how long they've been running, and how successful they are, and possibly Google reviews and app reviews as well when you go on, to see how many people have used it and how they found it is one of the most important things you can do. I think I was on it the other night, actually, I'm looking for a 5-season sleeping bag. Because I need a sleeping bag. I'll be climbing mountains again next year, Mount Blanc. I want to take my own kit this time, so 5-season sleeping bag. I'm going to use it for Glasgow. I'm going to use it for other things as well. But I could use it for climbing mountains as well. And then the first thing I went to is look for reviews. Who's reviewed it and who says about what and all the rest of it. Same with the outdoor shower I've got. I know I've got an outdoor shower. I've a combi boiler and everything. I've got my own shower and my own shower cabinet and everything. It's brilliant. But it's sitting in the back garden for ages. I've been testing it out for Glastonbury. Imagine going to Glastonbury having your own ensuite shower outside. Anyway, I've been testing it, but I've been asking questions and I've been looking at reviews and everything like that, and it's been working perfect. They've given a 30-day money-back guarantee, no quibble. So these are the sort of things you've got to just check out. There's lots and lots of information online, but be aware, like everything, there's always somebody there that gives you a negative
I was
review.
going to say that reviews are so good, but they could all. But you could usually tell when you read reviews and you'll see the few people and you could tell that's just.
And you click on their profile and it's like, wait a minute, you've got negative reviews for everyone.
Everything.
It's like there's something fishy going on here. Yeah. And it's almost and they've got some obscure anonymous name. You think, and hiding behind their anonymity, and it's like, there's something no right here. So you've got to watch out for that, I would say, because that could really put you off. But also you've got to watch out for reviews that are maybe bought, because people can buy reviews. We've been approached years and years ago by loads of times. Oh, we could do this for you and do that for you. I get approached every other day by people about Google review. Oh, we could do this and we could sort that, and it's like, I'm not kidding. Live and die by your reviews. That's it in a nutshell. If somebody wants to say that, they want to say it, you'll no stop them. And all you need to do is you make sure they've got the appropriate reply as well. Look at our other 470 customers that have used us already and given us a 98.5% approval rating. Maybe that speaks volumes as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, don't let things. Watch out for negative reviews and let them influence you. Yeah, a few other things which might seem very simple and think, well, I wouldn't forget that, but don't forget to tell your friends and your family that you're moving as well. You know, you might be
maybe you don't want to.
Well, maybe you don't want to. That's right. But you know,
we were talking about. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Wait a minute. While I remember it, we were talking about last night when the football was on to Germany. I said to Elaine, remember that time where people used to say, "I'm away to the shop, love," and then they just went away to Germany at the football. And the World Cup and stuff like that, and they were on the front of the Sun newspaper. My husband just said he was going out for the papers, and he was on the telly getting it big, and in the audience and the crowd for the football, and she thought he had just gone to the shop for papers.
But yeah, definitely don't forget to tell the people that obviously are around you, friends, family, and things. I know people think that's a bit silly, but you would be surprised. And also, depending on how far maybe you're moving. I mean, you might be moving somewhere quite local and close, and that's fine. But if you're moving a bit further afield, think about your freezer full of food. Do you know, are you going to have to use that up? Are you going to be able to transport it and it not spoil? Do you know, because that could be a costly thing if a whole freezer of food is going to be ruined.
Good point. Yeah. I never really thought about that for somebody that's got quite a lot of food in their freezer. It can go because so how are you going to do that? I wonder if removal companies have refrigeration units. If they do that, I've never heard of it.
I know you get refrigerated vans and things, but I mean, it depends how big your freezer is that you're going to hire a refrigerated van to transport your food from one property to another.
Could you be surprised? In my mum's house, it's like flipping heck. She's got a double freezer in the laundry, and she's got another double freezer in the garage, the double garage, and then she's got a fridge as well. And it's like, Mum, is the apocalypse coming or something? Because it's like who are you going to feed? It's like how many? So if anything does happen, the apocalypse does come along. You know where I'm going. It's exit side left.
And then finally, if you've been eyeing up some new furnishings for your new home or plan to make some improvements, now is the time to put your orders in for those things, and get them obviously set up to come to your new address. Book contractors, get them in place if you're going to be putting a new kitchen in your new place and things, and you want all that done. Get all that booked in and ready to go for your date for moving.
A wee sneaky one to do, possibly, and it's up to yourself whether you do this or not, but we do this on buy to let, don't we? When you've got an empty property and someone else isn't living in it and you're buying it from them to move to, and you've concluded missives, you might
Yeah,
want to consider asking if you can get your joiner in straight away to start moving, start sorting the
and get a
kitchen
head
and putting a
start.
new kitchen and
Yeah,
new bathroom in, because you've concluded missives and they can't back out. So, ask your solicitor about that if it's something you want to do. I especially do it. I do it in buy to let as well when I buy a portfolio property
yeah,
and
oh yeah,
nobody's in it. It's like, well, I'll conclude the missus as quick as possible. Can I just get all my stuff done now, get my contractor in and turn it around? And can I do viewings as well? And usually most people go, yeah. And so by the time I've actually bought the property, someone's ready to move in on the day I've actually bought it. And it's just a
yeah,
hand over the keys, sign the lease, job done, all compliant, signed off, new kitchen, new bathroom, decorated, carpeted, all the way throughout, new heating system. And that's exactly the perfect turnkey operation. So if you're moving the house and you're buying a new house as a seller and a buyer, then possibly it's maybe an option to do to get ahead of the game and get ahead of what
yeah.
you're doing. And so
Especially
you'll
like I
get
say,
all booked in.
if you're going to put a new kitchen or bathroom and things in, that's a great opportunity to get that. You could even probably have
Yeah.
it nearly done. Just to clarify for everybody that's watching out with Scotland, conclusion of missives obviously as the agreement, the legal agreement that is ahead of the move-in date. So once we've concluded missives in Scotland, we've committed to that. I
A
mean,
bargain
you
has been
can,
struck, that's what
yes,
it says in law. A bargain's been
yeah,
struck, and it's a legally binding agreement now. It's not just I'm going to buy it and I've sent you an offer and you've accepted. That's not concluded missives. Concluded missives is a bargain struck. That is the price we're paying. This is what we're getting, and the job's done. And we're just waiting for it to settle now between the banks and the mortgage
yeah,
companies and that for the money to exchange hands between solicitors and an agreement for an exact move-in date to actually happen.
yeah.
Good point, Richard. Really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. So how do we park like a pro then?
So parking like a pro, yeah. When it comes to the perfect parking, it's all about the journey. So from easy loading to safe transportation of all your stuff and a speedy unpacking at the other end, it's all about what's actually inside that box that you've parked, obviously a few weeks before. Tape up your boxes properly and really have them done so they've got a bit of strength in them. I mean, moving house and moving boxes, if you've not got the bottom of that box secured properly, all your
Yeah.
valuables are going to come right out the other end when you try to move them. Label them clearly. Do you know, is it the kitchen? Is it from the living room? Is it the bedroom? So you know where things to go, and your removal guys know where to put things for you to easily unpack in that room. And stick to medium to large sizes instead of really extra large boxes. Do you know, even your removal guys are going to struggle to move big, massive boxes. They're lighter, they're easier to carry, and they're more flexible for getting into the van. And obviously, do you know, you don't have that game of Tetris for whether it's yourself
Yeah.
or whether it's like removal guys trying to get them in the van. It'll make life a lot easier. So yeah, make sure you pack your boxes with strength and tape, label them, and don't go too big on the boxes. Do you know, you don't want big, extra large boxes. Um,
Good
Prepare
point.
post-it notes for maybe doors on each of your rooms at your new home that match the labels on the boxes. Again, do you know, like I say, if your removal guys are bringing boxes in and they've got room names on them, stick post-its on the doors. So like, this is bedroom 1, this is bedroom 2, or this is so-and-so's bedroom. Do you know, so they know where all the boxes go straight into. They're in their destination, and then you could easily unpack in that room when you get there. That's a really and it's all about kind of streamlining the process so that you're not, you know, in a jumble of boxes all in one room, and then you're having to then put them around the house from one room or one area when they're not, when they could already have been positioned where they should be. Use textiles and cloths as padding, so loose items don't scratch each other. Do you know, you could have a lot of picture frames and nice ornaments, and do you know, maybe probably a lot of valuable stuff that could get damaged in transportation. Do you know, wrap them up in, if you've got throws and cushions and things, do you know, pack them up like that so they cushion and stop them from damaging each other. Wrap your crockery in proper white packing instead of just maybe newspaper. No newspaper, not that we'd have a lot of newspapers lying around anymore, but that's what
I
everybody
know
used to
it
do.
doesn't happen anymore.
Wrap things
Um,
in newspaper.
so I think you about here anyway. Most people try and get their boxes from Diageo. Because
Yeah,
Diageo, you know, a lot of people work in Diageo locally, so they usually say, "Is anybody got any boxes?" And that's what everybody used to do, get packing boxes from Diageo. You can order them online though as well, can't you? And then also
yeah.
the packing company has boxes you could use if you want to pre-pack beforehand.
I was just going to say your removals company will be able to provide you with boxes as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
And
the
so you
good
can
thing
buy
with
them
that is,
online.
yeah, I was going to say the good thing with your removals company providing the boxes, as I was saying about not having boxes that are too big or awkward to manoeuvre, they'll provide you with boxes that they're already familiar with using, and it'll be a lot easier for them to park the van and unload the van and things as well with the boxes that they're familiar with.
Mhm. Okay, okay. So we've got a link to reuseabox.co.uk on here.
Yeah,
So anybody can click on that, and possibly it's an opportunity just to reuse some of the boxes and make it really simple for
well,
yourself
a lot
and
of
for
people are,
anybody else.
yeah, a lot of people are obviously conscious now and things, and that's great. And obviously worried about waste and reuse and things. So yeah, reuse a box.
With the advent of Amazon and all the boxes they have, I kind of think if you're buying stuff off Amazon anyway, and I don't know about you, but God, we've got boxes for printers and stuff like that we threw out years ago,
Yeah.
and the boxes are still sitting there in the cupboard, and it's
Mhm.
like, well, you may as well just pack them all up into these boxes and use them now. So if you've got any purchases you're making on Amazon or any other online firm and you're getting deliveries and stuff like that, keep the boxes. Fold it,
Yeah.
carefully take off the tape, just slice the tape down, unfold the box, pack it up, put it somewhere where where it could be easily reconstructed, and we're just packing tape again and actually reused. So that's an easy one to do for people.
Yeah, definitely. So what about mastering your moving day? It's actually the moving day, Jim,
Oh my goodness,
and
panic
doing that.
day.
Yeah, panic day. Yeah, but yeah, like I say,
Panic, we're
if you've got the
moving.
right prep, if you've got the right prep, you could do it quite stress free.
Do you know Jim over in St Andrews, Ferguson Place it was? Jim had it all systematically done. He actually said, "Look, we are selling. We'll be coming to you." He says, "Just give me a wee bit of time to get everything sorted." And over a period of 8 months, he managed to decant his whole house stress-free. It was an easy option for him. Then he put his house on the market and sold it for a record price, and job was done. And at that time as well, he was able to buy his other house, so and do what he want, and the job was done straight away. So you can make it really easy for yourself rather than leaving it
Yeah,
all to last minute. But it does take discipline. It does take
yeah,
consistency. You know, doing something every. It's the habit stacking. It's the James Clear.
uh,
You know,
yeah.
Atomic Habits. It's habit stacking, and it's just consistently doing something every single day to get to that overall
Chip
picture.
away at
And
the yeah,
it's a classic phrase I hear every single time is how do you eat an elephant? I never used to understand this. And I went, what? What's all that about? One bite at a time.
mhm,
That's it. Because it's massive, the task that you've got to try and achieve here. And if you look at it in the bigger picture when it comes to your moving, it's like you're just going to be so overwhelmed and stressed by it and thinking about all the things that probably could go wrong in order to try and make them right. But and they've not even happened yet. This is what a lot of people do. It goes through their mind. It's not even happened yet, and it constantly goes through their mind about what they need to do. And they don't, no, just write it down. Write it down what you need to do, all the different steps. If you've got an A4 book or something like that, or an A5, something like this,
yeah,
get your pen and paper out or your pencil or that, and just all you do is write down all the different tasks that you think you've got to do. Then write it on the next page and the next page, and you'll have a lot of them. They'll just be wee minor things. Then you start to think, okay, once you've looked at them, let's put them in order now about what I should be doing first. So then you go at the back of that and write a 1, 2, or a 3. And then you'll know with the ones, that's the priority. That has to be done before the twos or the threes. The twos are, yeah, okay, it probably can be done after the ones, the priority ones, because that'll come next. And the threes are, well, we could leave that till last minute. That doesn't really matter that much because it's not that important in the task. But so it critical path analysis, it gets you to understand exactly the extreme efficiency of how you can do this systematically in order to get it done. So write loads and loads of tasks that you're needing to do, and then categorize them 1, 2, and 3. And then take all the ones. You might want to do it in a spreadsheet then, if you know, online, so you can just cut and paste and all the rest of it and sort it, because you've got a different column 1, 2, and 3. Then you just sort everything by 1, 2, and 3, and therefore everything for the ones drops into there, everything for the twos drops into there, everything for the threes drops into there. You know, I've done this before. Eh?
I'm laughing because I can see how you've went for doing a list. You're in a spreadsheet. You're breaking it all down.
Aye, and then I'm breaking it all down to all the tasks that you need to do, and then that way you've got exactly the ones, and then you take the ones and you think, what is the most priority in the ones? Exactly the same as the declutter thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
The 3 bins. So 1, 2, and 3. That's it. The rule of 3. It works every single time. Yeah. So moving day mastery. Did you know that no law of nature says moving day has to be a nightmare? It doesn't. It doesn't at all. In fact, it can run like clockwork, as I've just said, and be full of fun, full of excitement with the right preparation. And these are the things you've got to do. Get your children involved. If you've got young children, they'll love to get involved because they're packing up for the next place. If you've got furniture you're getting rid of, you should have got rid of it by now. If you were getting new furniture and you thought you staged your house, you could have staged your house with the new furniture and taken it with you and got rid of the old furniture, and that probably would have got you a better price, by the way. There's a wee top tip for you there. Yeah. So here's some of the things to think about. Have a hearty, healthy, relaxed breakfast before the removal van arrives to set yourself up for the day ahead. Yeah. You ever heard the phrase getting hungry?
Yeah.
Hungry and anger together, because you're so hungry, you get stressed and you get hungry. So make sure you actually have something to eat in a relaxed environment. Put some music on. I'm just sitting at the back with the music on, the sun is shining, had my breakfast, had my cup of peppermint tea, and I'm sitting basking in the sun thinking, it can't get any better than this. It's like, it's like, it will at Glastonbury next week, by the way. It does get better. It gets even better. It's a different experience completely. This euphoria at its best. Anyway, apart from that, so have it before the van arrives and set yourself up for the day ahead.
Yeah.
So I think the next thing to think about is pack an instant access box of tea, coffee, sugar, milk, cups, plates, cutlery, and snacks for refreshment breaks to keep you going. So in other words, to top you up.
Like that one box where you've got stuff that you're going to need as soon as you get there.
Yeah. So you know how to get access to it. Now, we actually give away these types of boxes on the day of you actually selling. So you'll probably get a box that has some of these treats in it already, and that'll set you up perfectly, as well as other things and vouchers. Yeah, vouchers for money off stuff. Usually AO.com. And in places like that, all the white goods and services that you kind of think, actually, I never realised I could have got a discount out of that. But we have vouchers in the boxes for that. So stay tuned for that, definitely. If you're with us and you're moving, you remember to get your moving box. If you're a buyer, if you're a seller, both you get it for that reason. Okay, so have an instant access box. And also, maybe keep a packed lunch or something like that, just in case. If you're going long distances because you're having to travel, because you're maybe moving out the area, it's maybe going to take 3 or 4 hours to get where you're going because you're maybe going down south and you've got a family. I know you can stop at places on the way, but if you're just doing country roads and stuff like that and you can't have anywhere to stop, or you maybe want to save some money because you are a bit stony broke after moving and committing to all these expenses. Maybe the bank's bust by now. You know, there's nothing in the wallet. There's too much month at the end of the money, I think the expression is. If you feel like that, then take some with you in preparation in advance. If you've got, like me, a specific diet you follow, therefore you can't get it everywhere where you're going, and it's going to be difficult. So take some stuff with you. Exactly what I do all the time. I usually take something with me, so at least I know I've got the right nutrition, just in case. So if you've got that, if you're, I think it's celiac, if you're gluten free and all the rest of it, some of these places just can't do that because they don't get enough people in order to specialize in certain types of dietary food, to make it cost effective for them. So they can't do it. They just have mainstream, burgers and chips and stuff. So pack that and make sure you've got that. I think the final one is maybe out of this is leave a list for your buyer. Quite an important one to do,
Yeah.
and ask one from your seller as well, and where the stopcock is, where the meters are, and how the alarm works if you've got it, and then possibly even give it to your estate agent when you drop off the keys to your estate agent, so they can hand it over and do the same thing. So these are all
No, it's a
quite
good
important
one.
things.
Yeah.
You do that as well with move-ins
Yeah.
with tenants, don't you, Richard?
Yeah, definitely, and even more so because obviously there's a lot more turnaround with lettings and things, and yet having a list where they know where to locate the meters, and obviously we do a walk around with move-ins and show them how to work the boiler. And do you know another good one as well? And I know you could look it up online, but to leave the bin schedule for people when their bins go out, because a lot of you're moving, it'll be a different day. Do you know what bin goes out what day? You're going to have to wait and look at your neighbours. Not everyone, or even just point them in the right direction where to find it online. But it
How
takes 2 minutes.
everything
Print it
works.
off and leave it.
Instructions for how everything works as well.
Yeah,
I mean, you might be able to work your cooker, no bother, but sometimes,
you're used to
some of
it.
these things, even your heating system, even the programmer for the central heating is sometimes isn't the easiest to use. So
Yeah,
therefore, maybe leave some instructions with that as well. A lot of these support documents can be got offline for buyers that are like, oh my God,
yeah,
I should leave these things. Now we've said it. And also for sellers, leaving it for their buyers, you could download all these things. So you just go in and put serial numbers or product numbers in for your whatever your is. So for example, if I wanted a user for this calculator, then I would put I would name of the calculator, then I put the product number in, which is CD 2786 -12, and then say instructions, and then somewhere's that's the great thing about the internet. I've got to say that about Google and stuff like that, is the fact that all this information is usually readily available online. That's one of the great benefits of what we've got in terms of technology. I think that's
yeah,
a huge advancement in getting it, especially when you're traveling distances as well. The easiest access route to get to when you're traveling to your next property, you can just program it into your route master or wherever it is, or Google Maps, and we use that all the
yeah.
time. And it takes you the most efficient way possible. Plus, as well, it tells you where there's roadworks and actually
There's your
says,
roadworks
no,
and
can't go
delays
that
and
way.
things. Yeah,
You should go that way. So you avoid all these stressful complications at that time, and it makes it so easy for you. And it takes another thing off your mind in terms of what you need
yeah.
to do. So that's probably the best advice I can give. To end, when you get
Hmm.
there, unpack as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Folding empty boxes as you go to clear the floor fast, and you'll never be more motivated than today. And you can wake up tomorrow with a wonderful start to your new chapter in your new house, rather than actually
That's a good
wake up and
point.
think, "Oh
Yeah.
my God, I've got a mountain to
I've
climb
got
with all
all
this
these
stuff."
boxes to go through, and yeah, that's a good point because I mean, you want to wait, you want your first morning waking up in your new house to, you don't want to wake up and think, God, I've got to work through all this stuff. Just get it done, get it out of the way, like you say, clear space, and you wake up in your new home with a lot better outlook and feeling.
I think as
Um,
well is remember and label all the boxes to tell everybody where
yeah,
everything goes. So if it's
yeah,
in bedroom, if it's in Simon's bedroom, if it's in Julia's bedroom, if it's in, these are random names, Tony's
yeah,
bedroom, Ben's bedroom, Scott's bedroom,
yeah,
or the living room or the kitchen, and take all these boxes, put them in there. But with your children, just give them the box and say, there they go, unpack
let
your
them
box,
unpack.
organize
Yeah,
your room. Yeah.
yeah,
And let them do it. It's good skills and it's good because you're going to have to do it anyway, right? So rather than you doing it, let your children have an attempt at it, because it gives them vital skills that they'll learn. It'll hold
yeah,
fast
of course.
later on in their life. And I know that sounds really really unpacking a box, but it's more than unpacking a box. It's about the
The
organization. It's about the
responsibility and
discipline. Yeah, it's about where everything goes, how everything does, and what they need to do. That's the life skills it gives them for later on in life when they have their own place and they know exactly what to do next. That's how I ended up being able to fix cars, because I
yeah,
worked a lot of the times with my father on cars, how to do brakes and how to do engines, how to do spark plugs, how to do solenoids, all these different things. I learned from my father. So it's the skills that you learn when you're younger. It will stay with you forever, and you can pass it on to the next generation.
And it's amazing, these just simple things like that, how they could actually teach the younger generation how to do things. Do you know what? And you'll see that, and people that fuss around children and do everything for them, when they come to the real world, they're like, oh, how do I do this? I've never had to do this
It's
for
like
myself.
Kevin and Perry.
Yeah.
It's like, could you take the dog out for a while?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, do I really need
Definitely.
to throwing themselves down the floor? Good tip: beat them to it and throw yourself down the floor and do that already and start screaming. That'll catch them off guard.
But yeah, no, that's it's a good way to wrap up, because obviously, yeah, responsibility and things as well. There's lessons to be learned, but I think the main thing for me today is preparation, and really getting things in place ahead of time, putting habits in place, and having that discipline to really be ready to go. Whether that's your solicitor, whether it's the movers, whether it's obviously packing, decluttering, and your agent, if you've got a good one, will help you along the way.
Yeah, perfect. Anybody that's got any top tips for moving and what to do and all the rest of it, please feel free to put them in the comments there, and everybody else can pick them up later on. Until next time, guys, have a fantastic weekend. The sun is shining, it's bright,
Yeah,
and it's going to be there. Take advantage of it now and get outdoors. I certainly am going to do that. Until next time,
definitely.
bye-bye for now.